And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, race fans, one and all, back to Pit Stop TV. We're live tonight from the historic Lime Rock Park here in Connecticut. I've got Cole Fralick and Victor Vallee alongside of me as per usual, and we've got the Lucky Dog Sim Racing League here for round 4 of 12 as we get ready to unleash these Porsche GT4s and Audi TCRs around this circuit. And this certainly has not been easy. I've been following along with Team Unreal and several other teams as they try to practice for this play as they try to practice for this place, guys. And Cole, it's certainly going to present a lot of issues. First off, we have more than 40 cars. I think it's about 49, 50 cars that are here tonight, ready to take to the pavement. And that pavement is going to run out pretty quickly. These guys are going to be all over each other. Just two classes, but two very full-packed classes around a pretty narrow circuit. So it's certainly going to present some challenges for these drivers as they try to settle in to a mid-season groove. So as qualifying wraps up, Cole, go ahead and run us through our top 10 on the grid.
All right, so starting off right where we left off in Daytona, Richard Basford and Kim Aiken have locked out the front row. Kevin Ford in third, Ian Anderson in fourth, Kevin San Diego in fifth, Michael Melvin's going to start sixth, Chris Lounsbury in seventh, Brandon Dyke in eighth, John Montgomery Jr. in ninth, and Andre Millette in...
I'll go ahead and continue here. Down the grid, we got Cameron Hinderer in P11. John Toothaker will take from the 12th position. Moving on to row number 7 now, Michael Omeleko. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I probably butchered that, but he will be 13th on the inside of row number 7. With him on the outside is Nicholas Murray. Jumping back to row 8, Tyler Landenberg, Justin Parcher. Sam Saylor is going to roll off 17th tonight with Jeff Van Stone on his outside. The first of the Audis will line up. Actually, he's going to line up 35th, but qualified with the 18th fastest time, or 19th fastest time, and Brandon Dyke will take off from the 19th starting position with David Levine rounding out the top 20.
And so we're going to roll through your overall fastest times at the top of your screen. Unfortunately, they are not separated by class. These are just the fastest times as turned, and you're going to see once we get going here that a lot of the Audis are going to be faster than some of the back end of the Porsche field guys, and that's going to present its own set of issues. I already talked about these guys just being all over each other, a couple of big classes that are going to be going around a pretty tight racetrack and lapping each other over and over, but also a lot of Audis are going to be faster than a lot of Porsches, and that's going to be a challenge in and of itself here, Cole.
Well, the challenge, I think, is going to be that last week we only had, I believe it was 3 or 4 Audis. This week we have a total of 16. And this track being very narrow, and it's almost like a short track for a road course because it's only a mile and a half, a mile and a half track here. So it should be pretty interesting to see how the Porsches maneuver around the Audi.
So as we get this field rolled off the grid here, Victor, we keep talking about the battle from last week with Richard Basford and Kim Aiken back at Daytona. It was certainly a good one to watch, then suddenly just kind of fizzled out towards the end of the race. And it's a shame, too, because those two were all over each other the entire time, and I think really would have had a pretty good battle to the win.
Yeah, definitely. It would have been a great battle for the win, but unfortunately we had that contact a little bit late in the going, and Kim Aiken was had to fall off at the back of Richard Basford, and Basford went on to take that win, and he is definitely the favorite today, out-qualifying Kim Aiken by 0.4 of a second. But everybody else in that field after Basford is within a couple tenths of a second here, from Kim Aiken all the way down to about Chris Lounsbury in 7th, all separated by about 0.4 of a second. Definitely a very competitive field with a lot of good talent and a lot of beautiful Porsches and Audis.
Definitely, and as they come up the uphill down to West Bend, we have a particular camera set up in West Bend looking straight at the uphill, so backwards across the racetrack. You just saw those guys come through that section there. We have that set up just to watch any possible wrecks that come up over the uphills. So as the leaders, Richard Basford and Kem Aiken, bring us back to the green flag one more time, picking up right where we left off in Daytona. These guys are ready to go back at it. So as we go to the front straightaway, Cam, down the Sam Posey straight, down to Big Ben for turn 1. Richard Basford is your leader.
A big jump out of Richard Basford. Kem Aiken having to deal with some more cars on the outside. While he's hanging on the outside, more cars going to the inside. He's going to lose one spot. That's going to go to Kevin Ford in the Valvoline Porsche. But everybody's just kind of singling filing out. We got one car off in the grass back here. That could lead to some drama, but they look to have sorted out. We got an incident here. The 13th spun out. But other than that, a pretty clean start compared to Daytona last week.
Had some problems in the back, but mostly up front, very clean. So far, we have Basford way out front as he makes his way through the West Bend and down the hill towards the final corner of this Lime Rock Park, this 1.5 mile road course up in the Connecticut hills.
So Richard Basford leads us across the line to complete lap 1. Then you've got the Fiero line machine, the number 4 of Kevin Ford. He's one of the real competitors, and actually a lot of these guys are real competitors in the Lucky Dog Racing League, stationed up on the West Coast, kind of to model, if you've heard of Champ Car Endurance Series Racing or the 24 Hours of Lemons, that kind of thing. So Kevin Ford, one of those entries, has a paint scheme to kind of model after their Pontiac Fiero, and hopefully we're going to get him in a paint scheme to more accurately model after that race car, but still a Valvoline paint scheme there for him and the Team Fiero line colors. A little further back, we have Michael Melvin, another real road course ringer, who is working his way up through in a Brunsko Porsche right behind that that Chrome. I don't know where the Porsche came from there, but the Chrome Porsche ahead of him, of Ian Anderson. So a couple of guys moving their way into the top 10, top 5 that were a little further back. Michael Melvin sitting right on the door there as a TCR actually exiting the pit lane. Almost takes out Michael Melvin. That was close. Tight quarters there as they head off into Big Ben. Now through turn 2, down to the left-hander.
Well, it looks like that TCR car is actually going to help out Michael Melvin. He's going to look to the outside of Ian Anderson here. Can't get it done as they head through the no-name straight up to the uphill. But it looks like Michael Melvin's just going to fall back.
Yeah, Michael Melvin going to fall back a little bit in that Chrome Brumos Porsche paint scheme. We'll tie into the IMSA competition here as we have one in the wall in the back there. It's the 23 of John Toothaker. He had worked his way all the way up to 8th, but now in the wall, that's going to be a tough break for that Porsche and that driver right there. But going back to the IMSA tie-in, we only had 21 cars take the green flag in the IMSA event here, so double the cars on track compared to the IMSA event, and we know how crazy that race was.
We've had another bit of contact there for Toothaker. We stayed live with him, as you mentioned, the real race here for IMSA. Toothaker now down the pit lane. Meanwhile, up at the front, it's still going to be Basford over Aiken, Ford, San Diego, and Anderson. That's your top 5. And as you watch the names scroll across the top of your screen, the orange names are your GT4 field. Those are your Porsches. The blue names are your Audi TCR field, so just keep that in mind as you see multiple P9, P10, etc. across your screen right now. Orange, that's your Porsche field. Blue, that is your Audi field, so hopefully that helps you keep that straight at home. Meanwhile, Kem Aiken sitting P2, already wrapping through some lapped field around this, it said 1.5 or mile and a half or so speedway. Not really even speedway, I don't know why I said speedway. Twisting road course up in the hills of Connecticut. Kevin Ford currently in pursuit of that number 20 of Kem Aiken. Then you've got Kevin San Diego and the number 69. And again, Ian Anderson rounds out your top 5. A little further back, we mentioned the Dykes last week wrecking with each other in the bus stop at Daytona. Meanwhile, Brian Dyke is making up for that. He is currently P10 here, Cole.
Yeah, and we want to put a little spotlight on our Audi TCR field, and not to forget those guys. J.D. Van Kirk currently leads them with Stefan Johansson in 2nd. J.D. Snyder 3rd with Rafael Hafili in 4th.
Now, I don't know if we can get confirmation on that, but I think it is indeed the Stefan Johansson there in the 41, running P2 in the TCR class right now, so it's great to have him here racing with these guys. Of course, we all know who Stefan Johansson is, so that's pretty cool to have in our field. Of course, back up front, Richard Basford still leads. Kevin Ford second, and Kevin San Diego. So a battle of the Kevins right now brewing here, with Ian Anderson right there in P4.
So if I'm totally certain of who you're talking about there, Victor, I actually didn't know before meeting the guy, but that is his son. There's Stefan Johansson in P2 in the Audi division, and we're staying with him here as he works through some lap traffic. So the 41, Stefan Johansson, trying to get through, honestly, just a mess right now. Down into the left-hander, you see these guys on lap 6 of the predicted 34, and that's ATVO trying to give its best guess of how many laps we're going to run. It's usually rather accurate. So he's trying to chase down JD Van Kirk for the lead. Meanwhile, he's got JD Snyder just behind. In fact, just past his rear wing. Meanwhile, Ian Anderson, who I think is still P4, P5, goes to your fastest lap so far of this race.
Yeah, and it's been kind of a cluster here with the TCR field. And early on, we've seen a few Porsches actually get into a few incidents. I've seen a couple of incidents on track, so right now having to deal with some slower Porsches that look like that have a crash damage.
Yeah, a couple Porsches with that crash damage. I'm still keeping an eye on this battle right now. For second place is Kevin Ford, Kevin San Diego, Ian Anderson, and Michael Melvin all under a blanket right now, battling for that second position. They're going to navigate past a lap car right now. That is Andrew Shembry right there in that blue Porsche, but he's going to get out of the way, and here we go, coming down the front straightaway at Sam Posey straight. They're going to go almost 3 wide into turn 1.
Michael Melvin down the inside, shoves it up underneath San Diego, and that's going to be good for P2 now, as it's Kevin Ford running out through the grass. No, sorry, that was Ian Anderson, I think, out through the grass. Cam Aiken a little further back, so Ian Anderson going to lose tons of time. Meanwhile, Melvin up into P2, and Kevin Ford falls back to P number 4 for the number 4 of Kevin Ford. Sorry, that was a lot of 4s. I had to get that out of my system. But Michael Melvin, a power move there in Big Bend. He goes up to second place, so showing that he's got the guts to make some big moves that you might not see in real life, but he doesn't have to pay for that car if he junks it. He doesn't have to pay for anybody else's car either, as a big move there from San Diego trying to navigate the lap traffic, going by Herbie there, and an Audi TCR there downhill. That could have been a whole lot worse, but thankfully they get that one sorted out. Kevin Ford going to follow through as Richard Basford sets your fastest time. Herbie going to take to the pit lane as these guys continue to turn laps around Lime Rock Park.
Yeah, and I saw Kevin San Diego Hart just flash in the headlights all the way down the straightaway furiously. But Michael Melvin putting the car where he needs to put it to put it up here into P2. But really, nobody has anything for Richard Basford right now. He's heading up towards the uphill while all of these guys are heading through the right.
Yeah, the right-hander, no name straight, and then gonna take the final big right-hand turn up the hill, and then another right-hand turn, which is West Bend, and finally one more right-hand turn. Don't worry, we got a lot of those here. On to Sam Posey straight, but Michael Melvin taking over that second position. Kevin San Diego with a daring move into the first corner. Cam Aiken still there. We talked about him a lot last week. He's still kind of hanging on there right now, P6. But once again, at the front of this pack, Richard Basford, 5 seconds now, the gap to Michael Melvin in P2.
Watching this lap traffic get in the way of these leaders, and certainly nobody is trying to hold any of these guys up. It just kind of happens. There's so little racing room around this place that you kind of just get caught up in these little battles that you shouldn't even be in sometimes. So it's just a narrow racetrack, realistically, and you have so many tight corners. You mentioned that this is a right-dominant speedway, and actually being close to Michael Melvin's project, I guess, for this week, trying to set this race car up to go fast. I can tell you, this guy set it up like a NASCAR car, but the opposite. He set it up to do all the right-handers, and it's a little bit sluggish through the left-hander of turn 3 as a car spun out there down the Sam Posey straight. Not going to pose an issue to these leaders. Going to go back, flashback real quickly to your Audi battle, and it's still JD Van Kirk leading this field. Stefan Johansson a little ways back, it seems like about 2 seconds. Then you've got another little gap back to Rafael Hafeli, who has now taken P3 in the Audi field. JD Snyder falling further back.
Yeah, and that Audi field.
Oh!
The leader just went to the wall. That's Van Kirk. He's got left rear damage, I believe.
And there goes his mirror off into the grass out of the downhill.
That car falling apart quickly, but Huge problem there. That's going to do some damage to his car. Maybe Johansson can catch him now, but very big problem for our leader there. Just trying to get through lap traffic, or, well, I believe it's lap traffic of the Porsches and slap the wall in front.
Yeah, someone had a problem right in front of him. He had to take evasive action, hit the wall on the left side. That car seems to be driving pretty fine still, but that's going to bring Stefan Johansson right there into the battle here, right up to the rear bumper of the Audi TCR machine there. So definitely could have been worse for JD Van Kirk, but he's going to try to go ahead and pull away from Johansson there in the number 41 Audi.
That 2-second gap quickly went out the window just as quick as he hit the wall. So Van Kirk only has a little over a second, no, actually, no, a little under a second over this number 41 of Stefan Johansson as they come back down the Samposi straight. And into turn one last time around, Van Kirk had a big bobble there into the corner, so it doesn't seem like it's setting into the corners, especially the right-handers quite right, which is going to be a big problem. It may have just been some of the Audi's natural looseness under braking as the car spun around there and they'll go by him. But definitely could have been a whole lot worse. I don't think he's out of the woods just yet, though, because Stefan Johansson now has a sniff of that draft. So as long as he stays pretty close to JD Van Kirk out of the downhill, he's going to have that draft down to the Samposi straight, which might not seem like a lot, but it's certainly going to make a difference going around here, as Van Kirk, I think, is definitely faster, has opened up that gap again. Seems like it's about a second and a quarter now as they go through West Bend, but still, I think that could have been that was almost the moment there for Johansson to take the lead, and he's not out of the weeds yet. It's going to be tight.
Well, you got to think that could have almost spelled disaster for both of our leaders, because if that car would have went around, it would have took both of them out. But yeah, this track is just so narrow. It's very hard to fit a car anywhere, and you're really in the gas most of it, or most of the track. So really, you're just relying on the toe the entire time, trying to help you get like such on the Samposi straight. That's where a lot of overtakes go or happen, is coming towards Big Bend. So really, drivers are relying on the toe, and they've set their cars up for a little more downforce, because with the speeds you're running around here, you'd probably want that in the car. But really, just hopefully the leaders stay out of trouble for the rest of this, because that's kind of what Lime Rock's known as here on the service, is the madhouse for chaos when you get a lot of cars in it.
Speaking of chaos, we just had Richard Basford, your leader. He actually just got in the back of one of the lapped Porsches, spun that Porsche all the way around, and now Basford has damage on the front of that Porsche, just a skosh on the front end of it. You can see it just barely on that right front, the driver's side, just the nose crushed in a little bit. That's going to lead Michael Melvin a little bit closer. He's been kind of closing down that gap a little bit every lap. Down to 4.3 seconds, is actually going to stay at 4.3 seconds here as Melvin navigates through some heavy lap traffic right now.
And I want to quickly thank everybody for tuning in. We've got over 40 concurrent viewers over on YouTube, and Twitch has its own handful. Really got to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I know we're having some frame issues. We're going to continue to get that sorted out, but it's better than last week at Daytona, believe it or not. So some of iRacing's latest updates. Oh, and Michael Melvin has wrecked down No Name straight, it seems like.
He got into the back of a lap car.
Yeah, that car actually looks fine, so I'll take your word for it there. We're going to get a replay on your screen, hopefully, of Michael Melvin running into some trouble here out of turn 4. Trying to get it up now, and we'll see what goes on here for the 36.
Car and slapped the tire wall pretty well, it looked like.
Yeah, that was Matthew Geddes there in the 48. Looks like Geddes was just trying to get out of the way, and unfortunately Melvin was already committed to the right side of the track and nowhere to go, and both of them came together there at the beginning of No Name Straight.
So the replay up on your screen now, and we're going to have to see exactly what happens for Michael Melvin. That's a pretty good illustration, and we'll see it here. And, well, actually, we don't see it. So I'll try, well, I think we might have lost that little bit of a replay, unfortunately. So we're not going to be able to show you exactly what happened to Melvin there. As we go back live with the number 36, he settled back into a little rhythm, trying to chase back down the number 50 car. He's got about a 6.7 second gap with a 5 second cushion over Kevin Sandiego as he runs wide, and this might be it. He's back through
What
the
a
grass on the
save.
inside of the racetrack, and that was a heck of a save there out of Michael Melvin. Definitely some racecraft to hang on to that thing. Just as I say, he's going to go try and chase down the leader. He almost makes a fool out of me and just ran wide out of the downhill and then went back through the grass on the inside, and thankfully he hangs on to that machine.
Well, that was an incredible save, and that was just him pushing way too hard to make up that time that he kind of lost there in the incident. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see if any of that little side. He's got a little bit of bodywork damage on the left side, so it'll be interesting to see if that affects the car any. He definitely almost destroyed the car, but luckily he's keeping on, and he's running P2 with a pretty healthy gap to Kevin Sandiego.
Yeah, and we've been talking so much about the lap traffic playing trouble for the leaders, and they're split up by about 7 seconds. And I think right now we got to go back to a battle here for 4th place on the track. This Kim Aiken and Ian Anderson going at it here. And I think we just had the leader. Richard Basford just went off the track.
That was Basford out of the downhill. We're going to try and get a replay on your screen. What happens to him seems like, oh my gosh, there was a mess down at the bottom of the hill, and Basford's done. We'll watch through that one more time. We're going to go to the onboard here with Richard Basford. So as we cover the battle further back, a big developing story here for Richard Basford. It's going to give Michael Melvin the lead, it seems, as coming through the right-hander, turn 7 to end the lap, a big crash in your TCR field, and one car just rejoins the track in a really bad spot, pretty much on the racing line, and unfortunately there's nowhere for Basford to go, so the Canadian sidelined here trying to get service to that machine. And no, actually, he's back on the track now, so he's going to try and turn some more laps, catch back up a little bit, but 13th currently.
Yeah, that was sorry to cut you off there, Cole, but that was Russ Lindbergh there in the TCR that went back on the track, but he had no control over that car, and he was trying to get that thing stopped. Had a couple other cars involved here. It was Dan Garber and Russ Lindbergh, Russ Lindbergh and Garber, and then Blake Upton was also caught up in this, and that was the 3 cars involved originally. We had Upton get shoved back onto the track, and I think we had one more car involved in that, which was another Porsche. Couldn't tell who that was, but definitely devastating for Richard Basford here, who had dominated this event.
Well, Richard, he just caught the unlucky draw there because he barely caught that TCR. But as we head back to our leader, Michael Melvin, you mentioned his real-life efforts. This will help him out because if you remember Hawk Performance, they're giving away, I believe it's a pair of brake pads for every winner of their races this season.
That's correct, Cole, and I actually wanted to give a bit of a segue to them real quick. We'll leave their sponsor on the screen here is, man, Melvin trying to get by the 23 car there. Not sure exactly who that is. A lot of these numbers are changing week to week, so hopefully as we get that straightened out, we'll get more used to who's in what car number, but definitely trying to get through some of the lap traffic. You mentioned the real-world experience, going to help him out. An Audi just blocked Kevin Sandiego, actually, down the no-name straight, and Sandiego had to back out of it. Looks like that's the number 27 machine. Try and get a read on who that one is, because that was a bit of a yikes of move. No, it was the 22 of Richard Garau. And I'm not so sure I promote that move, but he now runs through the grass, and the downhill makes contact, and the left rear might be broken on the 69. We'll have to see if that was an iRacing issue or if it's actually broken. He continues on, so it has definitely reattached itself to the car graphically. Thankfully, that car going to keep rolling, but Kevin Sandiego, a big shot to the left side, going to hurt his efforts because that's definitely important to make sure he has grip through each of the right-hand corners. Hopefully, he continues on, but that could have spelled disaster for our P2 machine. But going back to Hawk Performance, they are giving out a free set of brake pads to each class winner all season long. And Hawk Performance, if you don't know, is an industry leader in brake pads and rotors and are a proud sponsor of the on-track and off-track, so sim divisions of Lucky Dog Racing. So they're a sponsor in real life of the Lucky Dog Racing League, and they're a sponsor here on the iRacing Simulator as well. Glad they're joining us. A lot more sponsors are going to be coming on soon, so just keep an eye out for that over the coming weeks. Make sure you follow Lucky Dog Sim Racing League on Facebook. You can follow us too. We're going to share all of those updates, so Pit Stop TV, if you already follow us on Facebook, stay there, and go ahead and like the Lucky Dog page as some more lap traffic. The 129 getting in the way of your P2 effort from Kevin Sandiego. He thankfully gets by, though.
Yeah, And we talked about it earlier on. This place is a madhouse. The name of the game for this track is survival. It's all about survival. iRacing themselves on week 13 will put up a survival race called Battle of the Little Wings, which is F3s and Skippies. And it's just an absolute madhouse, much like we're seeing today.
Yeah, madhouse ain't the word for it, as Eric Hutchinson's going to kind of block off your leader, Michael Melvin, right now. But we're going to go ahead and jump back to the Audi LMS battle here. JD Van Kirk still holds strong in that white and yellow HB Audi. JD Snyder's going to come across P2 right now. Something must have gone wrong for Stefan Johansson. He's in the pits right now from what it looks like, and that car is absolutely toast. Missing a left front, so definitely a tough break for Stefan Johansson. But as you said, not just the overall winner gets a pair of free Hawk Performance brakes, but also the Audi LMS class winner as well. So great to have them on board.
For sure, as we continue to watch from Michael Melvin's perspective here as he tries to get through some of the lap field, he's actually coming up on a teammate. While they're not in the same livery, that should be the 91 of Tyler Langenberg, who should make this pretty easy on him. So the Team Unreal pairing there going to sort that battle out quickly. That is the 91 there of Langenberg, so that should be easy there on Michael Melvin. I know they're communicating with each other to sort things out. So you see the American flag. You can see that's kind of the telling tale, or I guess a telling sign of those machines as they go through their own little bit of an issue here, going through the right-hander, and that's going to give way to the 36 there. Hopefully the leader, actually, Tyler Langenberg stayed on the track there. These guys are going to have a whole issue coming up the uphill, and then Langenberg moves there, lets him go on by, and they are through without an issue. So we have a couple of issues there for the sim on my end, but actually I want to cover somebody who I've been watching kind of move up to the field who actually has fallen back down. Scott Eckert kind of moved his way up a little ways, is now seems like in P2, and it sounds like we just had something happen.
We almost had problems with Michael Melvin. The car they were actually chasing down lost it. He got a little too wide on the downhill section and nearly took out Michael Melvin, but only took himself out, luckily. Or rather, unfortunately for him.
Well, I think it's fortunate for the field, definitely with the tight track like Lime Rock here. I was going to say, you could barely fit 3 cars wide at any point of this track. Maybe Sam Posey straight you can fit 4, but that's pushing it. So with all of these tire barriers and Armco barriers on your left and right, there's not an easy time and an easy crash that won't take out. We got problems for the leader.
And Tyler's in it. Multiple cars here at the top of the hill as they start to head down for the downhill, and Melvin is nosed into the Armco. Cars going by to make passes here as Melvin's going to fall down to at least 5th for now, and that car is junk. Kevin Sandiego, he goes through for the lead. Kem Aiken, Ian Anderson, and John Montgomery Jr. are going to go through for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th respectively, as Michael Melvin going to bring that car down the pit lane. We'll try and get a replay up on your screen if we can. I can't guarantee it, but we're going to try here. And so watch the red, white, and blue Porsche there and gets doored. Who was that? Somebody just gave him a shot to the door, and I think that was the 444. I think Damian Dineski? That was Damian Dineski, the 444, who gave the leader a shot. That was Michael Melvin, and that's going to completely end the effort there for the 36 machine. And that was possibly one of the Fiero Line cars. It's just a Valvoline paint scheme, so we don't know for sure if he's affiliated there with Fiero Line. But unfortunately, he has played into this race in the worst way.
Yeah, and I think Michael Melvin would have actually been a little okay. Lots of front-end damage there, obviously, but had Tyler Langenberg not come in and plowed into him, unfortunately, that probably would have lessened the damage on that car. But that's going to hurt Michael big. Oh, and he's crashed it again.
So that's terrible for Michael Melvin. His day is gone from bad to worse. So put salt in the wound for Michael Melvin. But to go back to the original incident there, Damien, I don't think Damien had any idea that you had the leader coming up on him because I don't think anybody in their right mind would move over like that. So definitely, especially on iRacing, it's hard to tell. I mean, we've seen it with a lot of real life drivers. We saw it on Sunday with Jimmy Johnson. He just had no idea where the car was on his outside. Apparently, the iRacing spotter cleared him, but he definitely wasn't clear, and I think that may have been another case of the iRacing spotter striking and causing an accident.
Contact for Kim Aiken, and he's going to involve John Montgomery Jr. The battle for third through fifth, it looks like, going to be blown wide open. Kim Aiken made contact there with a lapper who kind of just got in the way a little bit. I don't think he was really trying to, but he kind of just turned in for the corner and didn't leave Kim Aiken enough room down on the inside. You saw it live there as it unfolded for the number 20 machine. He's not going to lose any positions there, Kim Aiken, but he is going to lose a ton of time to Kevin Ford, who is now on the same straightaway. Meanwhile, John Montgomery Jr., the big loser in this, the number 71, he's going to fall to 5th place and loses a ton of time, at least to Kim Aiken, but also to Kevin Ford. Brian Dyke going to be your number 6 driver in the number 92, so he's going to come in P6 currently. Richard Basford has made his way back up to P7, it looks like, unofficially right now. Trying to get that confirmed. Yes, up to P7. Meanwhile, Cameron Hinderer is into P8, David A. Levine in P9, and it looks like we're trying to get P10. That's going to be Scott Eckert. So as these guys continue to wind the laps down, 6 laps to go currently as Kevin Sandiego is actually be coming through West Bend now, then downhill towards 5 laps to go in this race, Cole.
Yeah, and he's currently chasing down the lap car of Andy Rolston. Andy probably going to pull over to the side here. Or not, actually. He's going to stay in the line. Probably just let him go on the inside here, heading into Big Bend. But Kevin Sandiego's got this all but locked up as long as he makes no mistakes. Right.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what you guys are looking at, but I'm seeing on my side it's supposed to be a 30-minute event, so I'm a little bit confused on what's going on right now. So hopefully you could explain that a little bit better for us, Andrew.
Well, like I said, ATVO puts out the estimated laps to go, and it's going to add a couple of laps past, usually just one. It depends on the average lap time for the race. So we're predicted to have 4 more laps once we take once we take the start-finish line this time by. So going based on that here from ATVO, it's generally a pretty accurate output. We're coming to 4 to go here with it looks like 2.5 minutes left. We'll see if that number changes, but at least for now, the number is 4 laps to go, 2.5 minutes. We'll see what ATVO does there. That's 3 laps, and it should usually add 1, I think, because we're going to be more than halfway through the lap otherwise. I'm kind of rambling here, trying to do the math in my head, but we should have 4 laps to go here regardless. So, yes, it's a 30-minute race, but we still have to put that in laps. We can't just throw the checkered flag at some arbitrary point around the racetrack, and call the race there. So it's going to add a lap to just kind of round it off.
Well, while Andrew was giving his brief explanation, well, I don't know if it was too brief, but while he was giving the explanation there of how ATVO works there, we actually had the Audi TCR leader of JD Van Kurt go off while letting Kevin Sandiego lap him. Kevin's still breaking away from the rest of the field as second place man currently is Ian Anderson, who's got about an 8-second gap behind him.
Yeah, we've seen a lot change recently here at the top of the order. To say we've seen Michael Melvin, and we had both Richard Batsford and Michael Melvin go off, so open up the door for Kevin Sandiego. Of course, he hasn't had a clean race all the way either. You can see the right side mirror is off of that machine. Ian Anderson running P2. That thing's a little bit beat up on the rear end and probably at the front end as well, having to deal with that lap traffic. 9 seconds off your leader. Kim Aiken, who started second, is now on the final step of the podium with another beat up car on the rear end and a little bit in the front, a lot of bit in the front actually. You can see the hood on that machine flapping just a little bit there. So everybody's beaten and battered, and actually we do have a battle for third brewing here between Kim Aiken and Kevin Ford. Kevin Ford has made his way back to P4 and is trying to track down Kim Aiken right now.
Yeah, so Kevin Ford tracking down the number 20. Kevin Sandiego some 22 seconds ahead of this battle. So he's going to be coming to the white flag here in just a moment as time expires on this race. So we're past the halfway point in the lap, which is why it adds that lap to your overall race distance. So that's kind of a too long didn't read there of what I was trying to say prior. Since we're more than halfway through this lap as time expires, it's going to add one more lap to finish the race off. So Kevin Sandiego going to be coming out of the downhill section now. And no, it actually has gone the other way. So I will take back everything I just said. Kevin Sandiego going to take your checkered flag a lap earlier than was expected. Ian Anderson coming to the checkered flag. He is going to take P2. Basford has made a comeback to 6th. He was listed ahead of Kim Aiken there for a moment, but Kim Aiken
and we got a battle for 3rd. It's going to be side by side at the line here. Kevin Ford's going to get him.
So Kevin Ford gets out of P4 in the number 4 to take P3. John Montgomery Jr. going to come through for 5th. Richard Basford 6th. And as all these guys dip off of the racetrack there in the excess pavement there out of turn 1, Brennan Dyke going to come through for 7th. Meanwhile, in your Audi battle, we've got several cars coming through for the finish still. Raphael Heffeldy has actually come through for P2. JD Van Kirk takes your race win in the Audi division. Several cars coming through, just kind of definitely expressing the fact that they don't have to pay for these machines or have to suffer the real-life consequences of when you throw a car into a barrier like that at full speed. I saw a couple of guys go full throttle there, but that's going to wrap up the race. We still have a post-race show. Going to be talking to your top finishers, hopefully, or at least any we can speak with in Discord. And so we're going to be trying to talk to those guys here in just a moment. We're going to pull up our race comms and get going with them. Organize all that for you guys back home. We want to hear how your drivers that may or may not be in the bedroom or the living room or maybe just that you know did in that race. So go ahead, give us a few minutes. We'll cut to a couple of commercial breaks. We'll be right back with post-race interviews here from Lime Rock Park. talk, and welcome back to Pit Stop TV as we wrap up the show for the Lucky Dog Sim Racing League here at Lime Rock Park. Wow. I try to talk like I'm from the Northeast real quick there for a second, but as we wrap up round 4, we have your Porsche winner alongside of us, Cole Fralick. Go ahead and bring in Kevin Sandiego.
Well, Kevin Sandiego, we were talking about it during the break, but it was just a madhouse for you guys out there tonight, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot of just dodging people left and right that went off, especially in the early laps. It got a lot cleaner later on, but it definitely super stressful the whole time.
Well, it was a pretty solid run for you guys. I saw you kind of get shuffled there back on the start in that, I believe it was the 4th place position, but over the race it seemed like it just kind of fell into your hands.
Yep, I just kept trying to turn clean laps, and fortunately some of the folks up front got a little bit banged up, and I was able to make it past. I was worried at first there because right at the beginning, number 1 got away as I got stuck in traffic, lap traffic, but ended up coming back to me, so it was good.
Well, before we let you go, who do you have to thank for the win tonight?
My wife, I guess. She's upstairs, frustrated that I'm out there. So, but see you guys next week for sure. It was a lot of fun. Good racing, everybody.
All right, that was Kevin Sandiego, your 1st place finisher for the night.
And so we'll go ahead and dial up your P2 driver from the Audi field. Raphael, do you have a copy?
Yeah. What's up?
Well, Raphael, first things first. We're going to go ahead and talk to you here for a second, but how exactly do you pronounce your last name?
Happily.
All right, so I wasn't too far off. I think I was saying Hafeli throughout the race. Not terrible, I guess. You started 5th, though, in the Audi TCR class. You end up coming home P2. A couple of issues there for several drivers up ahead of you. Did you think you might have had something there for J.D. Van Kirk, or was that all you had?
Unfortunately, that's all I had. During the formation lap, I actually made contact with a car ahead of me. Actually, 2 cars ahead. He slammed on the car in front of me, and I was down on power most of the race, and my front end was pretty bashed, so I had low power most of the race, which it was actually, in my opinion, I thought it was pretty good because I didn't overdrive the car, and I was able to keep it clean the whole race except that incident.
Yeah, it was tough to go and switch between each class, but we tried to stay on you guys when we could. And we saw Van Kirk and Johansson battle ahead of you guys, and you ended up working your way past J.D. Snyder, and suddenly you're in P2. What was it overall, I think, the moment that you knew that you were going to get by some of those guys and get up into P2?
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't paying too much attention to my position at the moment. I was just focusing on finding any Audis in front of me and try to work my way past them. Towards the end of the race, that's when I start paying more attention and, just trying to keep it clean. I think, given the amount of cars we have and the different skill levels, including myself, who's a rookie, I think the biggest thing here is just to, try to have clean laps and stay out of trouble. And that, that's halfway the battle, in my opinion. So.
Well, fair enough, Raphael. It's nice to talk to you here after the race, get that bit of an inside scoop on how your race went. Who do you have to thank, though, moving forward as we look to round 5, scheduled to be at Summit Point next week?
I'd like to thank actually Jason for organizing this league and getting all the the Lucky Dog drivers involved. A lot of us are friends outside of iRacing. We do a lot of wheel-to-wheel real racing, and given the situation that we're going through right now in the world, it's good to have someone like Jason organize these events and, put it all together for us. So I'm really thankful for him for doing this for us.
All right, Raphael, it was good talking to you. I want to make sure I have it right. Raphael Haffley? Or at least
yes,
a
sir, you got it.
There.
Yep, Haffley, yeah, that's right. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, it was great talking to you. Hopefully we're talking to you in the future as we still have some, I got to do math for a second. 8 races to go. Sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. 8 races to go. Hopefully we're talking to you in all 8 of those.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
And so out of the Northwest, he finishes second in your Audi class. That was Raphael Haefele. And we're going to go ahead, drag in a couple of more drivers. Seems like we have Kim Aiken on the line. So, Cole, I believe we have Kim Aiken.
Kim Aiken, you got a copy?
Yes.
Well, fourth place run. It wasn't as strong as your run last week in Daytona, but overall it looked like an interesting night for you guys. How did you survive the carnage?
I have to say it was quite tough. I screwed up the start of the race, and then I got taken out as I was lapping a car, and then Jan and I had a great battle. I mean, he's one of the few guys that you could run side by side. We had a good wheel-to-wheel battle there, so we were having some fun. But at the end, there was an incident. I got hit from behind and pretty much ruined my race. I mean, it was a tough race. I mean, this was really about surviving, and I think Kevin did a good job navigating the traffic. But I just got unlucky a little bit.
Well, you mentioned survival. What was kind of your keys of survival going into this race?
So before joining this, I tried the AI race just to see how bad it is with 50 cars. I even set the AI to 80, which is pro level, and the AI was very predictable. I think humans are more unpredictable. All I could say. I think AI is getting better than humans, unfortunately.
Well, before we let you go, who do you got to thank for your fourth place run tonight?
I mean, thanks to Lucky Dog for setting this up. I think this is a great way for us to keep our skills sharp. I race these guys in real life as well, so I look forward to making them sweat more.
All right, that was Kim Aiken, your fourth place finisher in the Porsche class tonight.
And so he starts second, ends up P4. Maybe not quite what he wanted, but still a pretty good showing there out of the number 20 machine. Moving down the line, though, as we try and dial up. Yep, that's going to be your P5 finisher in the TCR class. Jason Miles, you got a copy?
I got a copy.
Well, Jason, real quick, before we even talk about tonight's race, go ahead and just tell us about Lucky Dog Racing League.
So Lucky Dog Sim Racing League is the sports version of the on-track Lucky Dog Racing League that runs down the United States and Canada, and we're going to Charlotte this year, where you guys are from. But the Sim League started about a year and a bit ago, and we were running MX-5 cars, and now with everybody at home and nothing to do, all of a sudden we have sessions that are full, and previous winners couldn't get in tonight. So, it's grown exponentially with people entering and sponsors, everything else. It's crazy. I'm away.
Yeah, it's definitely a really good problem, I think, to have too many drivers that you're capping the field at 50 and you still have some, at least probably 20 drivers that I think that wanted to join, or at least probably in the number of at least 5 to 10, if not more. I think probably honestly around 20 or so. I mean, we had 60, not quite 60, I think 50 cars that showed up or around there to Daytona, and we've grown the league exponentially over the last week, I think. Maybe not exponentially, but definitely adding tons of drivers. I asked you to get just a couple of more in here right before the race, and
Yeah.
we're definitely, I think, going in a really good direction. I really should say you guys over at Lucky Dog Racing and Sim Racing League particularly are making really big strides, and I'm trying to stick with you guys as much as I can, help you guys out. It's been a lot of fun organizing this over the last couple of weeks, but to a driver standpoint, we talked to the league owner, Jason Miles. As a driver, Jason, you started second, you fell back a couple of spots, but through a couple of really good battles, you mentioned that one there with Russ for P4, you end up coming home P5, and making the switch over to Audi, I think still a pretty good night.
Yeah, I mean, the start was awesome for me. I moved up. I was probably about a third of the way through the Porsche field when I started the uphill on the lap one. Hadn't touched anyone, and there was a Porsche sideways. Locked up the brakes, didn't hit him, but basically the traffic funneled around, so I dropped back. But I had about a 15 or 16-minute battle with Russ Sherman, a guy that I know really well, a good friend of mine that we race in real life. He lives in Victoria, BC, Canada, and we battled and battled and battled and never touched each other, and I think that's his highest place finish ever, and he's run from the beginning, so super proud of him and all the other guys. I mean, a lot of these guys we see at our regular races, and some great racing out there. So it was just a small track with a lot of people, something we're used to, but yeah, some new people. Obviously, we want new people, but it was a steep learning curve tonight for some of them.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we saw again 50 cars try to make it around this place, and it's not exactly easy to make it around this place at a fast pace on your own, let alone with 49 others out there trying to beat you, or at the very least stay ahead of you, or something like that, or even try to keep with you. So, a lot of cars on a racetrack with not very much room. I think it was still a pretty good run. Sure, we saw cars out in the grass most laps through most corners, but still we had really good battles on the racetrack, and I think that's what matters at the end of the day, because you're going to have offs no matter what. It's just that this place is a lot shorter, and it's a lot tighter, so you're going to see all of those offs, and it's going to happen more. So you guys have done a really, really good job.
Just want to give a shout-out quickly to Carrie Mitchell. She won last week in the Audi class. She was one of the people waiting on the outside that couldn't get in, and I just want to give a shout-out to her because I know she was practicing hard all week and looking forward to it, and something special to get something over her. But I definitely looked today, and there was 74 people ready to go before this race, so there was probably 20 people waiting and couldn't get in. So next week, I can't remember where we're going next week, but the track's bigger, and yeah, we got more space. So.
Well, we've got Summit Point on tap, unless we change that for a track that's a little bit bigger, a little bit more room to race with. But I'll leave that to you, Jason. We'll get you back up there with the rest of these drivers, debrief everybody, and it was really good talking to you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
And so that was Jason Miles, finishes P5 in the Audi class, and Cole, I think a pretty decent race for him overall, all things considered. But we do have another driver to go ahead and talk to. We've got the guy who just completely showed everybody that he was the guy to beat last week at Daytona. Started to do the same thing here tonight at Lime Rock Park. It's Richard Basford. Cole, do you have him?
Richard Basford, you got a copy with us?
Hey, man, how are you?
We're doing pretty good up here in the booth, trying to survive through the world right now. But overall, it looked like a solid night starting out for you. But what happened there, bud?
Yeah, I got a good start. I sort of dummied the Sam into slowing down at the start and just got a good start, and then lasted about half the race and then just got caught up. There was people spinning down the front straight, and I couldn't judge where they were going to go, and no one kept on their brakes, and I sort of T-boned somebody, and that was it. Had to go into the pits and get a new car.
Well, it looked like you and Michael Melvin both had problems with lap cars tonight. What was really going into this a key to survive the race for you?
I think luck was the main part of it. I don't think there was anything that we could really do. Trying to be decisive with your moves, lick the stamp and send it in. But other than that, just get lucky.
Well, before we let you go, who do you got to thank tonight?
I got a couple friends to thank. Michael Denham helping me get ready for this race. Andre Millette, he's in this race tonight. Blake Choker, BBR karting. And my girlfriend, as always, for putting up with me playing racing.
All right, that was Richard Basford, your sixth place finisher.
So as we let him go back up there and debrief with his team, that was your pole sitter, then sixth place finisher just outside the top 5. Looking back down to your Audi TCR field, it's going to be Dylan Yeager. And Dylan Yeager, well, we're trying to move him in here. We keep trying. I keep trying. There we go. Dylan Yeager, you got a copy.
Yeah, I hear you.
Well, Dylan, looks like you started P4. You fell back a couple of positions, but overall, not that bad of a night given all things that could have happened. I mean, we had some 16 cars show up for the class, and you still finished in the top half rather. How was your night?
Well, I figured it would be kind of a crapshoot from the start, but I didn't, I thought I'd figured that I'd get past turn 1, but, outside time, I tried my best to keep up to people, and I almost caught up to Dale on that last lap and then got pitted, but overall, pretty satisfied.
Yeah, it was tough for us to keep tabs on both battles, but we kept trying to at least flip back to the lead in the Audi TCR field. And unfortunately, we didn't see him mix it up there, but it sounds like you were up there with Dale Clough, who was going for P6, ends up taking that spot. And we can only hope that we're talking to you more often through the season. Do you think this sets you up a really what could have been a lot better than a P8 finishing position? Do you think it's going to help you out next week at Summit Point and going forward so that we hopefully can talk to you more?
Oh yeah, I'll definitely be here all season. Hoping for first in Audi class, but anything's possible.
Fair enough. Well, it was good talking to you at least this week, Dylan. I know a P8 isn't what you want at all, but it's always going to help you, I guess, put a lot more in the bank behind you, just in the mind bank of what to do to get around to these lappers next time you stay out of the way if some guy is lapping you, whatever it may be, even just working on the setup. So hopefully that all comes to fruition in the coming weeks for you. Who do you have to thank, though, for your run tonight?
It's nobody but really myself and other people, trying to keep up and push myself to become a better driver and such.
Well, fair enough. We've had a lot of people thanking their girlfriends, their wives, and such. To thank yourself, I think it definitely matters. So we'll be talking to you soon, I'm sure. A good run tonight, though, P8.
All right, appreciate it. See you around.
And that was Dylan Yeager. Still trying to move him out of here. We'll get him out. There we go. Okay, we got him out of here finally. Discord being a little finicky with us there, Cole. But we're going to go ahead and wrap this show up. It was certainly good to talk to at least 3 drivers out of each field. Unfortunately, we didn't have the full top 3 from each class there, Cole. But good to talk to some of these guys nonetheless.
Yeah, and really, I think this was more of a race of frustration. So a lot of those guys probably just headed out of the Discord as soon as they could. I mean, we couldn't even get Dylan Yeager in or out of this place. So a little hard to be getting in and out of the booth these days. But overall, it was a pretty fun race for us to watch.
Yeah, I guess it was a little hard for him to get through all of those safety checkpoints at the door. But no, actually, I really do want to quickly turn that into a segue to just thank you guys all for tuning in. Got to thank Jason Miles for setting this up, getting us on board to cover these races. And got to thank all the drivers for coming out and making the effort to practice throughout the week to run this race and really show what they're made of here. Obviously, it's hard for us to get an idea of what they're like in the real Lucky Dog races, but at least in these races, all these guys putting on really good shows, especially I think Richard Basford has to be your number one guy moving forward. He made the comeback from 13th to 6th after getting turned there, and just honestly a really good run last week at Daytona too. Completely outran Kim Aiken there as the laps wound down, so I think he's got to be your number one moving forward as we get an idea of what these guys are all made of, even in the real world, and how that translates over to the sim. But I want to thank, again, everybody for watching, be it families, girlfriends, teammates, whatever it may be, or even just fans of the channel. Make sure you guys subscribe, follow, whatever it may be. Like us on Facebook. Like the league page if you haven't already on Facebook, because they're going to be announcing a lot of new things, mostly sponsor announcements, wink wink, in the coming days, coming weeks, whatever it may be. So again, I want to thank you guys for coming out, and just a little bit of a brief break from everything going on in the real world. It's certainly nice to be able to keep doing this and do it more often. We didn't do this for several months here, Cole, and then we came back with the SRCA, and now we've got Lucky Dog Sim Racing League. We're looking to add to our schedule just a little bit to give everybody a little bit more racing, ourselves included. So if you're looking to get your league race broadcast, you can certainly do that. Message us on Facebook. That's the best place to get in contact with us, but you can do it elsewhere, be it commenting on a YouTube stream or whatever. We'll try and get back to you when we can. But again, I want to thank everybody for watching, everybody for coming out and racing, and just having another really solid round here for the Lucky Dog Sim Racing League.
And SRCA is going to actually be our next scheduled broadcast with Indy on Thursday.
Yeah, we're going to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that 2.5 mile, I'm not going to say oval because it's a rectangle, there with the IndyCars. That should be a lot of fun to watch, as Rick Ray Vaughn seems to be the favorite in the IndyCars. We'll see how he does this Thursday. But for now, that is going to do it. We'll quickly roll through your results. Unfortunately, I don't have the Audis on a page. So, Cole, I'll give it to you to go ahead and run down our top 20 in our Porsche field here in a moment once I get it up on your screen. And it starts off with race winner Kevin Sandiego.
Yeah, and then after that, we had Ian Anderson in P2, Kevin Ford P3, Kim Aiken P4, John Montgomery Jr. comes home P5, Richard Basford, we spoke with him earlier, he came home P6, Brandon Dyke, he came home 7th, Cameron Hinderer came home P8, David Levine, one of the guys who's partnered with our channel, he comes home P9, Scott Eckert P10, Justin Parcher P11, Michael Omelko, sorry about that. 12th tonight, James Wolak, 13th, Jeff Van Stone, 14th, Andre Millette, 15th, Andy Rolston comes home P16, JD Van Kirk, P17 overall, P1 in the Audi class, Chris Lounsbury, 18th, Nicholas Murray, and then Rafael Halfley in the P20 position, P2 in the.
And so going down the rest of your Audi field, it's going to be J.D. Snyder coming home P3. Russ Sherman takes 4th. He was mentioned there by Jason Miles, actually, and that they had a pretty good battle to the line. So Jason Miles comes home P5 in the Audi class, and it's going to be Dale Clough in P6 in the number 40 machine, it looks like. Then it's going to be Eric Hutchinson coming home P7 in the Audis. And then we have Dylan Yeager. We spoke with him briefly there, the driver of the 94. Then it's Scott Dyke, actually. I believe he's the father of the Dyke clan. So good to see him getting a decent run. Maybe not what he wanted, but he's certainly going to take that, I think, and build on it moving forward. He comes home P9. Then it's Richard Garau. We mentioned him at one point in the broadcast, actually. Stefan Johansson, unfortunately, falls to 11th after having a really good run. Almost took the lead there from J.D. Van Kirk, who ended up winning this race in the Audi class. Dan Garber going to come home in P12 in class, and it's Russ Lundberg, Jay Brickey, Brandon Webb, and Peter Holm rounding out your Audi field. Cole, go ahead and take us through the rest of the Porsches.
And, rounding out the Porsches, we had we got some mixed in here, but John Toothaker, Brandon, I don't even know where we were.
We got Brandon Dyke, then
John
Damian
Toothaker,
Terneski.
Yeah, Damian Daneski, he's 26th overall. I believe that's about 21st or something in class. Memo Calderon, Matthew Geddes, Marcus Walter, Taylor Chase, Joshua Maddox, Michael Melvin, who we saw up in the lead, unfortunately got taken out by the lap car, the 444. Andrew Shimbri, Tyler Langenberg, who also got caught up in that incident with Michael Melvin, Sam Sailors, Joe Krzeminski, Blake Upton, Jared Holland, and that will round out your Porsche field for tonight.
And so that'll do it. Some 50 cars almost on tap here from Lime Rock Park. And 50 cars around any track is big. That's massive. The special event fields cap out at 55 for the iRacing service. So your Daytona 24 fields, they stop at 55 cars. We almost hit that tonight, and I think we'll hit it at other tracks throughout the season. We're certainly going to have to figure out some technical difficulties on our end, some tie-ups and cogs in the machine to hopefully get a smoother picture to you guys in the future. I want to thank you guys again for sticking through that, but that has done it here for Pit Stop TV and our coverage of the Lucky Dog Sim Racing League from Lime Rock Park. Some 33 laps in the books here tonight as these guys round out round number 4 of their 12 race season. We go to Summit Point next Tuesday, as long as that holds on the schedule. Kevin Sandiego and J.D. Van Kirk, your winners tonight in each class. They're getting a new pair of Hawk Performance brake pads. So we'll see who gets those brake pads next week as we head again to Summit Point. Make sure to tune in here on Pit Stop TV.